Did you know that we have our own membership platform for government contractors? It's called Federal Access. It has every resource that government contractors need to win government contracts, from documents and templates to training videos, webinars, all that kind of good stuff. And it also gets you in our inner circle where you have support directly by myself and my partner, Joshua Frank. So go get started today at federal-access.com/game changers.
The big question is this: if government contracting is supposed to be so easy, why do so many companies fail to win even a single contract while others dominate the market? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. In today's episode, you go one-on-one with best-selling author and master business coach Michael Lejeune to learn exactly how to take your government contracting business to the next level.
Happy new government fiscal year. So you heard me right. It is the new year for government contractors that started on October 1st. This is the first podcast of the new fiscal year. I want to talk about 7 strategies, 7 things that you can be doing to start the new year off correctly. These are all things that can help you with prospecting. These are things that can help you with your business just in general. There are things here that will help you just get off on the right foot, because I see a lot of times that government contractors tend to take the foot off the gas right in October and kind of coast through the end of the year, kind of look at January, maybe even late February as really the start of the hunting season, if you will. And that's just not true. There's a lot to be doing in October, November, December, January. There's a lot of things you can be doing. I want to talk about 7 of those things today. Number 1, this is really important this year because last year I saw, to me, it was a record number of opportunities that kept getting kicked to the right. They kept getting kicked further down the calendar, and farther and farther and farther. And next thing you know, the fiscal year closes and all these things have not been awarded yet. Number 1, that's really frustrating. It's really frustrating if you've been tracking an opportunity for 6-12 months, you thought it was going to close in March, and here it is October, and that thing still hasn't closed. Number 1 on my list of things to do is a status check on contracts that should have closed last fiscal year and didn't. It's a great time to go to those contracting officers, go to your PMs or anybody else you know, even if it's a small business rep, and say, hey, this thing should have closed in March. Any thoughts on where this thing really is? Like, get a really good temperature check on where that opportunity is and when to expect it to actually come out. Will it come out over the winter? Or will it wait till next spring? Or is this thing just going to get canceled? You don't know. I actually saw several clients of mine that were bidding on opportunities. They put in RFPs or they put in RFQs, and then the government comes back and says, hey, we've yanked that funding. You know, those $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 million worth of quotes you submitted. Yeah, we're just going to cancel all those RFQs, whatever it may be. Super frustrating. And so I saw a lot of that last year. So go and do the temperature check. See where things are with those contracts that didn't get awarded in last fiscal year. That's number 1. Number 2, I want you to check in with your current customers. If you already have even one contract with the government, even if it's one subcontract with a prime, right now is a really good time to do, again, a temperature check with them and see how are things going with the project, with the contract, or how is the relationship with your prime? Is that in a good position? Do you have open communication? Talk about new and upcoming opportunities for the new year. Talk about, some of your goals with them. Hey, I'd really like to see us, submit 2 RFPs a month or whatever it may be. I'd like for us to do 5 contracts in the upcoming year. Right now is a great time to talk strategy and, more importantly, build relationship with customers and your teaming partners, whether they're subs or prime. It is high relationship building time right now to go and spend with all of those people. The next thing I want you to do is I would love it for you to go run a new SAM Who Buys What You Sell report. I use SAM a lot of times just because that's the main system we use for a lot of stuff. You can use USA Spending. You can use GovWin. You can use Bloomberg. You can use Federal Compass. You can use fill in the blank. Whatever software tool it is, go run a report on who buys what you sell and collect some data. Because look, a lot of people don't run these reports very often. They run them maybe once a year, sometimes less than that. Sometimes they just do it when they get into contracting. And then from there, it's constantly focused on opportunities in acquisition. So I'd like you to go and look at the historical numbers for the last 12 months. Go and look at that. See if there's anything in there that surprises you. You may be quite blown away with who is buying what you sell that you didn't realize was buying what you sell. Maybe there's some new opportunities within a current agency. Maybe there's a new agency that's on the map and trending up and yet needs to be on your radar. Whatever it may be, go run that report and see if there's any information you can utilize as you start to build your strategy for this next year. The next item on my list here, this is number 4, is capabilities briefs with new and old contacts. So if you did the last step where you went and ran that Who Buys What You Sell report, now you can actually turn that into some actionable advice where you can say, hey, now that I know that this new contracting officer, these new 5 contracting officers are on the radar buying what I sell, maybe they just got in that position, maybe they just started buying that, whatever the reason is, now you know 5 new people, maybe more, that you should be scheduling capabilities briefs with. Now that's 5 at a minimum. Maybe there's a dozen more that you should be doing capabilities briefs for. Think about that. That's pretty awesome now that you have new intelligence, new people to go and speak to. And guess what you should also be doing? Going back to people that you've already worked with, contractors you've already done this with. Just because you've done one capabilities brief for somebody doesn't mean they even remember you. Think about that. If it's been 6 months, a year, and you haven't landed any work, circle back with them. Hey, we've done a lot since the last time we spoke. I'd love to just do an update with you on where we are. It won't even take 15, 20 minutes, whatever it may be. Try and focus on things like that, activities like that are going to get you in front of people that are helping make buying decisions. The next one on here, and you'll see a trend here, the circle back trend, I guess, a little bit, is circling back with like OSD Boos and small business reps. If you are not touching base with those people frequently, they're going to forget about you. And it's not because you're forgettable. It's because there's always a squeaky wheel. And you want to be a squeaky wheel within their network. You want to be reaching out, not just to complain or anything like that, but reaching out because you want to talk to them about something. It's an opportunity. It's a new capability you have. It's a contract win. See, it doesn't always have to be complaining. It could be reaching out to say, hey, thank you for helping introduce me to Jim, Sue, Bob, whoever over at fill in the blank agency, because that has turned into work. It's really changed our business over the last 12 months. I wanted to thank you. While I'm here, is there anybody else that, you think I should talk to now that we have this past performance and that sort of thing? Reaching back to people you've talked to is a top priority, okay? The next thing in here is more of a working on the business, but kind of inside. It's review and update your marketing materials. I can't tell you how often somebody will send me, whether it is their capability statement or a link to their website, and I go and review it, and the copyright is 2019 on it, or something along those lines. Or, there's references in there that are clearly very dated and haven't been updated. And so right now is a really good time to look back over the last 12 months and make some updates. Maybe it's making updates to your core metrics that are in your corporate overview and that sort of thing, which I would argue you should always be updating those things. But now's a really good time to just do a comprehensive review to make sure that all of your marketing materials, your website, business cards, all of that are all updated with the right information. Also brochures and any of that other kind of stuff. My final tip for today is to review your strategy. I don't think people spend enough time thinking about their strategy and making sure it's correct. Here's a really great measuring stick to see if your strategy is on point. It's a really simple question. Might be too simple. Did it work? Over the last 12 months, did your strategy work or not? It's a yes or no. It's either working or it's not. You may not be hitting the goals you want, but that doesn't mean it isn't working. If you're coming close and you're making, considerable progress, then your strategy is probably working. But if you look back over the last 12 months and you're like, I really don't feel like we're any farther or any better than we were this time last year, you need some significant changes to your strategy. It is not okay for you to simply say, maybe we just didn't give it enough time. time. If 12 months have gone by and you don't see progress, you need to make some changes. Now, it may only need to be one or two changes. You may not have to revamp the entire strategy, but now's a really good time to sit back, reflect, and say, look, this is working, this is not, and be brutal about it. Look at it from the lens of, look, we're just trying to improve the company. We're not trying to berate anybody or make anybody stand out, as the bad guy or any of that kind of stuff. We're trying to improve the company. So let's look at strategy. Let's look at people. Do we have the right people on the bus in the right positions? Little things like that make a massive, massive difference. So right now is the time to do all that stuff. And if you have any questions about any of these things, you know how to reach me. I love talking about this stuff. We can hop on a coaching call, whatever it may be. Shoot me a message. Make sure your strategy is right going into the next year. The right strategy will yield massive results. I see it all the time. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this episode of Game Changers, please rate and review it on whatever app you listen on, and I'll be your best friend in the whole wide world. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Be sure to check back in a couple of days for a brand new episode, and we'll see you next time.